Welcome to World Information HD. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of rare US Lincoln pennies. Yes, those humble 1-cent coins that have fetched millions at auction. From unintentional minting anomalies to wartime metal mix-ups, these tiny treasures carry massive stories. In this countdown, we'll reveal the top 10 most valuable Lincoln cents, including legendary eras like the 1943 D bronze penny that sold for $1.7 million, and the incredibly scarce 1909 SVDB, known as the Holy Grail of Lincoln pennies. You'll also meet dramatic variants such as steel cents struck on copper planchets, double-die designs, and even mule eras combining different coin faces. Whether you're a seasoned numismatist or simply curious about what's hiding in your pocket change, these rare pennies are full of surprises, and maybe even fortune. Let's get started. The year was 1967. A time of cultural change, political turbulence, and shifts in the way Americans looked at their everyday lives. But hidden within the pockets and purses of ordinary people, something small yet historically significant was circulating. A simple coin that almost every American had in their hands, the Lincoln 1-cent penny. Now, when you hear the word penny, you might imagine just a common coin, easily overlooked, something you might drop on the floor and not even bother to pick up. But what if I told you that some of those very same pennies from 1967 are not only rare but can also be worth an astonishing amount of money today? What if a coin that once bought you a stick of gum or a candy bar could now fetch you thousands of dollars, making it one of the most valuable treasures hiding in plain sight? Today, we are going to dive deep into the fascinating history, eras, and unique qualities of the 1967 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. We'll explore why this coin is special, how collectors determine its value, and most importantly, how an ordinary-looking cent could be worth a fortune if it's the right one. So sit back, because this is going to be a long and captivating journey into the world of numismatics, the study and collecting of coins. To understand the true value of the 1967 penny, we first need to step back in time and look at what was happening in the United States during that period. 1967 was part of an unusual era in U.S. coinage history. In the mid-1960s, the United States Mint faced an unprecedented coin shortage. Coins of all denominations were disappearing from circulation. People were hoarding them, particularly silver coins, because of their rising intrinsic value. In response to this crisis, the Mint had to take extraordinary measures to ensure coins remained available for commerce. From 1965 to 1967, the Mint made a critical decision to remove mint marks from coins entirely. This meant that all coins struck during this time, including the Lincoln penny, would not carry the usual identifying marks of where they were minted. No D for Denver, no S for San Francisco, not even the classic P for Philadelphia. Every penny struck in 1967 bore the same simple design without any hint of its origin. At first glance, this may seem like a small change, but it had a huge impact. For collectors, mint marks are a key detail in identifying and distinguishing coins. By removing them, the Mint made it impossible for collectors to tell where a coin was produced, and this was done intentionally. The government at the time believed that coin collectors were partially to blame for the shortage, since many were pulling rare mint-marked coins out of circulation. By removing mint marks, they hoped to discourage hoarding. But here's the twist: instead of discouraging collectors, this decision only made certain coins from the era even more mysterious and valuable later on. The 1967 penny, without a mint mark, became a piece of that very unusual chapter in U.S. history. Now let's talk design. The 1967 penny carried the classic Lincoln design introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. On the obverse side, or the front, you'll find Victor David Brenner's iconic portrait of Lincoln in profile, looking resolutely to the right. Above his head, the words, "In God We Trust." To the left, the word, "Liberty." And to the right, the date, 1967. Noticeably absent is the mint mark, which normally sits below the date. Flip the coin over, and you'll see the Lincoln Memorial design created by Frank Gasparo, which first appeared in 1959. This design replaced the earlier wheat ears reverse and was used for decades until 2008. The Lincoln Memorial penny was iconic in its own right, and for the first time, if you looked closely with a magnifying glass, you could even see a tiny representation of Lincoln seated inside the memorial, a coin within a coin. So if millions of these coins were minted in 1967, what makes some of them so valuable today? This is where rarity, condition, and errors come into play. First, condition. Collectors place huge importance on the condition of a coin. A 1967 penny that has been heavily circulated, worn down, scratched, or discolored might only be worth its face value of 1 cent. But coins that were carefully preserved, kept away from everyday handling, or discovered in uncirculated rolls can fetch far higher prices. Professional grading services evaluate coins on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 representing a perfect coin without flaws. A 1967 penny graded in the high mint state categories can be worth hundreds, even thousands of dollars. Second, errors. During this period, the mint was producing coins at a frantic pace to meet demand, and quality control was often less precise than in calmer years. This led to a fascinating range of error coins that today are prized by collectors. Some 1967 pennies show double die obverse, where the inscriptions or date appear slightly doubled due to a misalignment in the striking process. Others may have off-center strikes, where the design doesn't sit properly on the coin, leaving a crescent of blank metal. There are also examples of broad strikes, clipped planchets, and even wrong metal errors where a penny was struck on a dime planchet by mistake. These unusual varieties dramatically increase the value of a coin, since collectors see them as rare accidents frozen in time. Third, historical significance. Because 1967 was one of only 3 years in modern history when mint marks were intentionally removed, these coins hold a unique place in numismatic study. Collectors often seek them out to complete sets or to own a piece of the no mint mark era. The lack of a mint mark itself becomes a symbol of a very unusual chapter in U.S. history. So, what should you look for if you come across a 1967 penny in your change, in an old coin jar, or tucked away in a drawer? Start with the basics. Examine its condition. If it appears shiny, well preserved, and has little to no wear, it may already have value above face. Next, inspect it carefully with a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe for any signs of doubling in the date or lettering, or for unusual errors like off-center strikes. Finally, if you believe you have a truly rare piece, consider sending it to a professional grading service for evaluation. Collectors are always searching for these hidden gems, and over the years, some have sold for impressive sums at auctions. While many ordinary 1967 pennies may only be worth a few cents to a couple of dollars, the rarest varieties in top condition can command much higher prices. This leads us to the question you've been waiting for: how much can one of these coins actually be worth? The answer might surprise you. While most 1967 pennies remain common, the rarest examples, those in pristine condition, with striking errors, or unusual varieties, have sold for extraordinary amounts. In fact, one particular 1967 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, preserved in exceptional condition, was sold for an astonishing $38,467. Yes, you heard that correctly. A single penny, once used in everyday transactions, once overlooked and passed from hand to hand without a second thought, could today be worth as much as a luxury car or even a down payment on a house. That is the magic and mystery of coin collecting. So the next time you see a penny lying on the ground, don't ignore it. That little coin might just hold a hidden history and possibly even a hidden fortune. From the decision to remove mint marks, to the design details that honor America's most beloved president, to the rare errors that slip through the mint's presses, the 1967 penny tells a story far greater than its size. It reminds us that even the smallest things can carry incredible value, if only we take the time to look closer. Whether you're a seasoned coin collector, a casual enthusiast, or someone just curious about what treasures might be hiding in your pocket change, remember this: the coins in your possession could be worth far more than their face value. The story of the humble penny has fascinated collectors, historians, and treasure seekers for more than a century. While most people overlook this small copper coin and let it pile up in jars or scatter across countertops, the truth is that certain pennies can change a person's financial life overnight. Among them, the 1974 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny holds a particularly intriguing spot. It is a coin many have handled without even realizing its potential, a coin that blends mystery, history, and hidden value in ways that captivate both experts and casual collectors alike. To truly understand why the 1974 no-mint mark penny matters, we have to begin with the story of the Lincoln cent itself. Introduced in 1909 to honor the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth, the coin was revolutionary in more ways than one. Not only did it feature the portrait of a real historical figure, but it was also a symbol of respect and remembrance for one of America's most beloved presidents. Over the decades, the penny has seen changes in its design, its metal composition, and its minting process. Each alteration has left behind subtle differences that, to the trained eye, can mean the difference between a coin worth a single cent and one worth thousands. By 1974, the Lincoln penny had already been through several changes. For more than a decade leading up to the early 1970s, the U.S. Mint faced challenges with rising copper prices. The 1-cent coin, which had traditionally been made of 95% copper, was becoming more expensive to produce. Each year, the Mint explored alternatives to keep costs manageable, and these experiments sometimes resulted in unique varieties or oddities that collectors now chase with great enthusiasm. The year 1974 is especially significant because it was the year when the United States Mint began seriously experimenting with aluminum cents. The government struck more than 1 million aluminum pennies in that year, only to later withdraw the idea after concerns from both Congress and the vending machine industry. Most of those aluminum cents were destroyed, but a few escaped into the hands of individuals. That story alone made 1974 an unforgettable year in the history of American coinage. But beyond the aluminum cents, the ordinary circulation pennies from 1974 carry their own mysteries. These pennies were struck at multiple facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Coins from Denver and San Francisco bear the familiar mint marks D and S. But the ones struck in Philadelphia, as tradition dictated, bore no mint mark at all. At first glance, this might seem unremarkable, since no mint mark was the standard for Philadelphia coins. Yet, for collectors today, those 1974 no mint mark pennies are more than just commonplace. Certain varieties and conditions make them both desirable and surprisingly valuable. The design itself remained unchanged from earlier years. Victor David Brenner's portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, with the Lincoln Memorial appearing on the reverse. But as every coin collector knows, the magic lies not only in the design but also in the details. Strike quality, die condition, minting errors, and the way a coin has been preserved all play pivotal roles in determining rarity and worth. Many collectors search for specific varieties within the 1974 Lincoln cents. Some of the most sought after include doubled dies, where the lettering or design appears to have been struck twice, creating a ghost-like shadow effect. In some cases, letters in the word, Liberty, or the date, 1974, itself appears slightly doubled, sparking excitement among hobbyists who know the value such quirks can add. Other varieties include off-center strikes, where the coin was not perfectly aligned during minting, resulting in a noticeable blank crescent along the edge. Then there are broad strikes, clipped planchets, and die cracks, each a tiny manufacturing mishap that transforms an ordinary penny into a collector's treasure. While not every 1974 no-mint mark penny will carry these quirks, the possibility of stumbling across one adds to the thrill of the hunt. Condition also matters greatly. In the coin collecting world, professionals rely on a grading system that ranges from poor all the way up to mint state, with numbers from 1 to 70 used to describe a coin's quality. A 1974 penny that has been circulated heavily, showing scratches and wear, might fetch only a few cents or perhaps a couple of dollars if it carries an interesting variety. But a 1974 no-mint mark penny preserved in pristine mint state condition, shiny, lustrous, and virtually untouched, can command far higher prices. The reason lies in supply and demand. Millions upon millions of 1974 pennies were struck, but only a fraction survive today in exceptional condition. Most were spent, passed through countless hands, dropped in parking lots, left to tarnish in jars, or fed into coin machines. To find one in nearly perfect condition is like finding a time capsule, a small piece of history untouched by the decades. Collectors, always eager to own such pieces, are willing to pay premiums that transform pocket change into significant sums of money. Over time, stories have surfaced of people discovering old pennies in surprising places. Some have opened forgotten piggy banks, only to discover a gem hiding among common coins. Others have inherited collections from relatives who quietly gathered coins over the years. The thrill comes from knowing that what might appear to be an ordinary penny could, in fact, be a rare treasure hiding in plain sight. But why the fascination with no-mint mark pennies specifically? Part of it has to do with tradition. For decades, Philadelphia pennies bore no mint mark at all, making them the standard. But beginning in 2017, the Mint introduced a P-Mint mark for Philadelphia cents as a one-year commemoration. This shift in tradition cast new light on older no-mint mark pennies, making collectors more aware of their place in numismatic history. The 1974 no-mint mark penny represents that long era when Philadelphia coins carried no identifying mark, linking it to a broader narrative of American coinage. What also makes the 1974 penny fascinating is its place in the transition period of U.S. coinage. Just a few years later, in 1982, the Mint would permanently change the penny's composition from copper to a copper-coated zinc core. This means that the 1974 penny is among the last generations of coins struck with the classic, heavy copper composition. Collectors often seek out pre-1982 pennies for their higher copper content, adding even more desirability to coins from this era. Imagine for a moment holding such a coin in your hand. It may appear no different from the pennies that pass through your wallet every day, yet the closer you look, the more details you see. The crispness of Lincoln's profile, the sharpness of the lettering, the clean edges, all these details can separate a common penny from a rare collectible. Even the faintest doubling, or a minor error from the minting process, can turn the coin into something extraordinary. For casual collectors, the journey begins by simply examining change more closely. The thrill of finding an old coin with an unusual look or date is unmatched. It transforms the ordinary act of spending into a treasure hunt. For experienced numismatists, the 1974 no-mint mark penny is a coin that tells a story, not only of Abraham Lincoln and his enduring legacy, but also of the U.S. Mint's struggles, experiments, and innovations during the 1970s. And this story is not merely about metal and numbers. It is about history, economy, and memory. Every penny carries with it the story of the hands that held it, the pockets it traveled through, and the small transactions it enabled. But some pennies, like the 1974 no-mint mark, carry an added layer of meaning, the possibility of great value. As we step back and consider the fascination, it becomes clear why so many collectors devote their lives to chasing these coins. The 1974 no-mint mark penny might not be the most famous of all rare coins, but it occupies a unique place in the broader story of American numismatics. It represents an era of change, it connects us to the artistry of coin design, and it rewards the careful observer who takes the time to look more closely at what others ignore. So the next time you receive a handful of change, take a moment to examine those pennies. Look at the date. Look for tiny quirks. Imagine the story behind each coin. Because hidden among the countless ordinary cents could be something remarkable, a reminder that even the smallest, most overlooked objects in our daily lives can hold astonishing secrets. And in the case of the 1974 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny, that secret could be of value that reaches as high as $24,444. Welcome back to World Information HD, where we uncover the hidden treasures hiding in plain sight. In today's video, we dive deep into one of the most fascinating coins ever struck in American history, the 1975 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. At first glance, it's just a humble copper coin, the kind you might have passed over 1,000 times without giving it a second thought. Yet behind its small size lies a story full of history, minting intrigue, collector obsession, and a shocking value that might just make you check every old jar of pennies sitting in your home. So grab a seat, because this journey is going to take us through the background of the Lincoln cent, the year 1975, why no mint mark coins can be so special, and ultimately, why some collectors are willing to pay extraordinary amounts of money for a coin you might find tucked away in loose change. The Lincoln cent is one of the most iconic coins in United States history. First minted in 1909 to commemorate the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln, it replaced the Indian head cent that had circulated for decades before. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the obverse of the coin featured a striking portrait of Lincoln, the first time a real person appeared on a U.S. coin intended for general circulation. This was a bold move at the time, but the public embraced it instantly. The reverse of the early Lincoln pennies, known as the wheat cents, displayed two stalks of wheat, symbolizing prosperity. By 1959, however, the mint decided to honor the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth by redesigning the reverse, replacing the wheat ears with the Lincoln Memorial. This design stayed in place for 50 years, and it's what you see on the 1975 penny. So what makes 1975 such a notable year in penny history? The mid-1970s were a turbulent time for U.S. coinage. Inflation was climbing, the cost of metals was increasing, and the mint was struggling to keep coin production balanced with the economy. In 1975, pennies were still made mostly of copper, about 95% copper and 5% zinc and tin, giving them a heavier feel than the lighter, copper-plated zinc pennies minted after 1982. This alone makes older copper pennies more desirable to many collectors, as they carry both historical and intrinsic metal value. But beyond composition, 1975 also marked an unusual gap in U.S. minting history. The mint was already preparing for the bicentennial celebrations of 1976. That meant quarters, half dollars, and dollar coins were struck with dual dates of 1776 to 1976. No quarters, halves, or dollars actually carried the date 1975. Yet the humble penny remained, and all 1-cent coins struck that year were dated normally, with the simple year 1975. Now here's where the no mint mark mystery becomes fascinating. Mint marks are small letters on a coin that indicate where it was made. In the 1970s, the United States Mint operated several facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Denver coins bore a D. San Francisco coins often carried an S, especially for proof coins, and Philadelphia coins traditionally had no mint mark at all. For most collectors, a missing mint mark might seem like an error. After all, a missing symbol usually suggests something went wrong. But in truth, Philadelphia pennies of that era never carried a mint mark in the first place. It was simply the standard practice of the mint. That being said, because of mistakes in die preparation or unusual varieties, certain no-mint mark coins from other years have become world-famous rarities, such as the 1922 No.D. Lincoln cent. So why do people get excited about a 1975 no-mint mark penny? The answer lies in condition, rarity, and collector demand. Even though millions of pennies were struck in Philadelphia without a mint mark, the majority entered circulation and became worn, scratched, and dirty over time. Finding one in pristine condition, untouched by decades of circulation, is incredibly rare. Coins graded at high levels by professional services such as PCGS or NGC can command staggering premiums at auction. Collectors also chase after unusual varieties. During minting, small errors can occur that make a coin different from the rest. These include double dies, where the image or date appears doubled due to a misaligned hub strike, or striking errors where part of the design is missing or off-center. A 1975 penny with such a flaw, especially in high grade, immediately stands out to collectors as something special. And then, of course, there is the emotional factor. Collectors often love completing sets, building an unbroken line of coins from every year. The 1975 penny is a key part of any Lincoln Memorial set, and when you add in the rarity of superb condition examples, competition among buyers can drive prices to levels that most people would never expect for a 1-cent coin. Let's step into the mind of a collector for a moment. Imagine finding a roll of pennies from 1975 that's been sitting untouched in a desk drawer for decades. You open it, and inside are gleaming, original copper coins that have never seen circulation. Each one looks as fresh as the day it was struck. Suddenly, what seemed like pocket change transforms into a potential treasure chest. That's the thrill that drives coin enthusiasts to dig through change, attend auctions, and trade with other collectors around the world. But how do you know if your 1975 no-mint mark penny is valuable? The first step is condition. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being a perfect coin without any flaws visible under magnification. Most circulated pennies fall somewhere between grades 1 and 30, which makes them worth only their face value or a few cents to collectors. But once you climb into the higher ranges, mint state 65, 66, or even 67, values can skyrocket. A penny that looks brand new, with brilliant luster and no noticeable scratches, is the kind of coin that bidders fight over at auction. The second factor is whether your coin has any unique errors or varieties. Look closely at the date, the lettering, and Lincoln's profile. Sometimes the doubling of letters or numbers can indicate a doubled die error. Off-center strikes, repunched mint marks on other years, or even die cracks can also add significant value. A professional appraisal or certification is often necessary to confirm these features. Finally, provenance and demand play their role. Certain coins gain legendary reputations because of past auction results, stories in coin magazines, or limited availability. When word spreads that a particular 1975 penny sold for a huge sum, collectors begin hunting their own coins more aggressively, which in turn increases demand and prices. It's also important to appreciate the broader history of the Lincoln cent itself. This coin is more than just a collectible, it's a link to American culture. The image of Lincoln has become one of the most enduring symbols of American values: honesty, perseverance, and sacrifice. Holding a 1975 penny is like holding a tiny piece of history in your hands, a reminder of the nation's past, minted in copper and carried through generations. And think about this: in 1975, the value of a penny was still meaningful in everyday life. You could buy small items with a few cents. Today, inflation has eroded that power, and the penny itself often feels obsolete. Yet, paradoxically, it is precisely this loss of everyday significance that makes collectors cherish old pennies even more. They become nostalgic tokens of a different era, and when preserved in pristine form, they transform into artifacts worth far beyond their original purpose. So where does this all lead us? The 1975 no-mint mark Lincoln penny might look like just another copper coin, but its real value lies in rarity, condition, and collector passion. For those fortunate enough to find one in exceptional shape, the rewards can be staggering. It is proof that even the smallest things in life can carry hidden treasures, waiting to be discovered by those who pay attention. And here's the part you've been waiting for: the value. While the average circulated 1975 penny might only be worth a cent or two, high-grade no-mint mark examples, especially those certified and preserved at top levels, have shocked collectors and auction houses alike. Some of these coins, in nearly perfect condition, have been valued at an incredible amount, reaching as high as $18,888. The Lincoln cent has been one of the most collected and recognized coins in the entire history of American coinage. From the first year of its release in 1909, it quickly became a cultural icon, not just because of the image of Abraham Lincoln on the front, but also because of the countless stories and rarities attached to its many mint years. Among those fascinating issues, one that collectors keep a close eye on is the penny from 1977, particularly the one struck at the Denver Mint and marked with the small letter D. At first glance, a penny from 1977 may not look like much. It's the same brownish copper coin that people toss into jars, leave in their car cup holders, or hand over without thought in daily transactions. But behind that simple appearance lies a deeper history. These coins carry with them details about America in the late 1970s, the challenges of minting coins at that time, and why even a single cent can end up becoming worth more than a collector could imagine. To understand the true worth of the 1977 penny, it's important to first step back into its time. The year 1977 was marked by economic struggles, high inflation, and political shifts. Jimmy Carter had just taken office as the President of the United States, and the country was moving past the turbulent Vietnam era and the lingering effects of the Watergate scandal. For ordinary people, every cent truly mattered. Pennies still carried strong purchasing power, and they were produced in the billions to meet the demands of a busy economy. The Denver Mint, where the 1977 D pennies were struck, played a critical role in America's coin supply. Known for producing vast quantities of coins each year, the Denver Mint operated at high speed, and the pennies minted there bore the small d under the date on the obverse side, just below Lincoln's shoulder. Billions of these coins were pressed into circulation, but not every single one turned out the same. Some contained striking errors, some were preserved by chance, and others remained untouched, hiding in rolls and jars until the modern coin collecting boom made them valuable. Design-wise, the 1977 penny followed the same familiar look introduced back in 1909 when the Lincoln cent was first issued to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. On the front, or obverse, you see Lincoln's detailed portrait designed by Victor David Brenner. Above his head is the motto, "In God We Trust," while the word "Liberty" rests to the left and the date, 1977, sits just to the right. For the Denver-issued coins, the D mint mark is placed just below the date, distinguishing them from the Philadelphia or San Francisco issues of that year. On the back of the coin, known as the reverse, is the Lincoln Memorial. This design, created by Frank Gasparo, had replaced the wheat ears design in 1959 to honor Lincoln's 150th birthday. What makes the Denver 1977 pennies particularly interesting is the fact that, although billions were made, some have become highly collectible due to condition and rarity in higher grades. Most pennies from that year circulated heavily, developing scratches, discoloration, and wear from being passed from hand to hand for decades. A coin that has been used in daily commerce is typically worth only its face value. However, if a 1977 D penny has survived in pristine condition, known as mint state, it can draw the attention of serious collectors. Collectors look closely at the quality of the coin's strike, the brightness of its luster, and the sharpness of its details. The grading scale, known as the Sheldon scale, ranges from 1 to 70, with 70 being a perfect coin. For the 1977 D penny, examples that are graded above MS-65 are considered scarce and desirable. Finding such a coin is like discovering a time capsule, an untouched piece of history preserved as it was the day it left the mint presses. Even more exciting are the rare error coins. During the minting process, mistakes sometimes occurred, and those mistakes turned into highly prized rarities. Some 1977 D pennies are known with off-center strikes, where the design is noticeably shifted from the center. Others display double die errors, where elements of the design such as the date, letters, or Lincoln's features appear doubled because the die used to stamp the coin shifted during production. Still others can have clipped planchets, where a portion of the metal blank was missing before the coin was struck, creating a dramatic crescent-shaped cut on the edge. These errors, while accidental, are precisely what makes them so appealing to collectors. Each error coin is unique, a one-of-a-kind piece that tells the story of the minting process gone slightly wrong. And because they are scarce, their value can rise far beyond the ordinary penny. Another factor that drives the value of the 1977 D penny is its metal composition. Unlike modern pennies, which are primarily made of zinc with only a thin copper coating, the 1977 penny was struck in 95% copper and 5% zinc. This gives it a rich reddish-brown appearance when well preserved and makes it heavier in the hand compared to later issues. The copper content alone, especially during times of rising metal prices, has added to the allure of collecting pre-1982 pennies. It's fascinating to think that a coin originally meant for everyday use, something you could buy a piece of candy or a newspaper with in 1977, has transformed into a collectible item that can command significant sums in today's market. Collectors often ask, what is it about this year, and specifically the Denver Mint issue, that makes it stand out? The answer is partly in the numbers. With over 4 billion produced, Most of these coins are common. But the rarity lies not in the existence of the coins, but in the quality and condition of those that have survived. Out of billions struck, only a tiny fraction exist in nearly flawless condition. And within that fraction, even fewer are graded at the highest levels by professional grading services such as PCGS or NGC. This is why collectors and dealers are willing to pay a premium for them. Every so often, a coin surfaces from a collection, tucked away for decades, and reveals itself to be an extraordinary survivor. When such a coin appears at auction, the bidding can become intense, as enthusiasts recognize how rare it truly is to find a 1977 penny that looks almost as if it was struck yesterday. But beyond the grading and auction world, there is also the excitement that comes from ordinary people discovering treasures among their change. Stories abound of individuals who, while casually searching through old jars of coins, stumble across a penny that turns out to be far more valuable than expected. It is this thrill of the hunt, the chance that a seemingly ordinary coin could hold extraordinary value, that keeps people checking their pocket change even today. The 1977 Lincoln cent represents a piece of American life frozen in copper. It carries the memory of a time when inflation was changing the way people thought about money, when the mint was experimenting with new techniques to keep up with demand, and when the Lincoln Memorial still graced the back of every penny in circulation. Its simple design masks the complexity of its story, and its worth depends not just on the metal or the design, but on the collector's passion and the rarity of finding perfection among billions. If you hold one of these pennies in your hand, you are holding more than a coin, you are holding history. You are holding a symbol of a nation that places its faith in small things, even a single cent. And while most 1977 pennies will remain common and ordinary, a select few have risen to the ranks of numismatic treasures. After decades of being passed from hand to hand, jar to drawer, and collection to auction house, some of these coins have reached incredible values. Among them, the finest examples in top mint state condition, with stunning luster and flawless detail, have sold for extraordinary amounts. In one remarkable instance, a 1977 Lincoln cent, preserved in pristine condition, was valued at $27,897. The world of coin collecting is full of mystery, excitement, and treasures hiding in plain sight. Every coin has a story, and sometimes the smallest denomination can hold the biggest surprises. Today, we are diving into one of the most fascinating coins from the United States of America, the 1977 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. At first glance, this penny might seem like just another small piece of copper that passed through countless hands over the decades. Millions were minted, and most people would toss one into a change jar without giving it a second thought. But behind its modest appearance lies a hidden world of rarity, errors, historical significance, and unexpected value. To truly appreciate the 1977 no-mint mark penny, we must begin by looking at its origin. The Lincoln cent, first introduced in 1909, was designed to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. This was the first time a U.S. coin carried the portrait of an actual president. Victor David Brenner, a renowned sculptor, created the iconic bust of Lincoln that still graces the coin today. Over the years, the penny underwent slight modifications, but the essence of Lincoln's strong yet humble face remained the same, symbolizing the spirit of America. By 1977, the Lincoln penny had already been in circulation for nearly 7 decades. The design remained familiar, Abraham Lincoln's bust on the obverse side, with the words, "In God We Trust," arching above his head, Liberty, to the left, and the date, 1977, to the right. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial stood tall, replacing the earlier wheat design that had been used up until 1958. If you look closely, the statue of Lincoln is visible inside the memorial, making it one of the few coins to feature the same person on both sides. So, what makes the 1977 no-mint mark penny so intriguing? The answer lies in its minting and the subtle details that collectors hunt for. Coins in the United States are produced in several mints, most notably Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Each mint typically leaves a small mark, known as a mint mark, to indicate where the coin was produced. For instance, Pennies made in Denver have a small D beneath the date, while those struck in San Francisco often carry an S. But Philadelphia coins, for most of their history, did not include a mint mark at all. This means that when you see a 1977 penny without a mint mark, it was struck in Philadelphia.at first. This might sound ordinary, since Philadelphia coins traditionally carried no mint mark. But rarity and value in coins often come from condition, errors, and specific production quirks. The 1977 penny, though produced in large numbers, has a few secrets that elevate its status in the eyes of collectors. One of the biggest factors in determining a coin's value is its condition. A penny that has been in circulation for decades, showing scratches, wear, and discoloration, may only be worth face value. But a 1977 penny preserved in pristine, uncirculated condition can be worth far more. Collectors use a grading system, ranging from poor P1 to mint state MS70. The higher the grade, the sharper the details, and the more desirable the coin becomes. Uncirculated 1977 pennies, especially those with strong strikes and no blemishes, are highly prized. Their luster, the original shine from the minting process, plays a key role in their appeal. Imagine a coin that has sat untouched for nearly 50 years, its copper surface still glowing as if it had just left the mint yesterday. That is the kind of penny that catches a collector's eye. But condition alone doesn't explain the excitement around the 1977 no mint mark penny. What truly drives fascination are the errors. During the minting process, mistakes sometimes happen, and these errors can turn an ordinary coin into a rare collectible. For the 1977 penny, known varieties include double die errors, where the design is struck twice slightly out of alignment, creating a doubling effect on the date, lettering, or even Lincoln's features. To the average person, such details might go unnoticed, but for a collector, spotting doubling on the words, "In God We Trust," or "Liberty," can mean holding a small fortune in their hands. Another intriguing type of error is the off-center strike. If the blank piece of metal, known as a planchet, is not perfectly aligned with the dies during striking, part of the design may appear off-center. In mild cases, it looks slightly shifted, but in extreme examples, large portions of the coin can be blank, making the error both visually striking and extremely valuable. Then there are clipped planchets, where part of the coin is missing due to a misfeed in the minting machinery. These odd-shaped pennies stand out immediately and attract significant collector interest. The rarity and uniqueness of such errors make them more desirable, and collectors are willing to pay impressive sums for them. Beyond errors, the historical context of the 1977 penny also adds to its allure. The late 1970s were a period of change in America, with inflation on the rise, economic uncertainty, and cultural shifts across the nation. The penny itself was becoming a subject of debate. Its production cost was climbing, and many questioned whether it was worth keeping in circulation at all. Little did anyone know that within a few short years, in 1982, the composition of the penny would change from mostly copper to a copper-plated zinc core. That makes the 1977 penny one of the last generations of nearly pure copper coins, adding another layer of interest for collectors. When you hold a 1977 no mint mark penny, you are holding a piece of pre-1982 American history, a coin that still carries the weight and richness of copper. Its sound, feel, and even the way it tarnishes over time are different from the modern pennies we use today. That sense of authenticity, combined with the potential for rarity, is why collectors treasure it. Stories also add charm to coins. Imagine finding a 1977 penny in your change, not realizing it could be worth far more than a cent. Many people have unknowingly spent valuable coins at gas stations, diners, or laundromats, never realizing the treasure that slipped through their fingers. On the other hand, dedicated collectors who scour through jars of pennies, bank rolls, and estate sales sometimes stumble upon these gems, turning a simple hobby into an incredible discovery. Now let's talk numbers, because ultimately, value is what excites many collectors and casual viewers alike. While most circulated 1977 no mint mark pennies might only fetch a few cents above face value, the rare and pristine examples are where things get interesting. High-grade uncirculated coins can command serious money, especially if they display an error like doubling, off-center strikes, or clipped planchets. The thrill of owning such a coin lies not just in its rarity, but also in the knowledge that others may never come across one in their lifetime. Collectors and investors alike are willing to pay a premium for coins that combine historical significance, rarity, condition, and error types. Auction houses have seen surprising results, with seemingly ordinary pennies selling for astonishing amounts when the right combination of features is present. And this brings us back to the 1977 no-mint mark penny, a coin that might look ordinary at first glance but has proven itself capable of reaching impressive heights in value. After all, the world of coin collecting is about more than just metal. It is about stories, history, passion, and discovery. Each penny has traveled through time, carrying with it a trace of the past. The 1977 penny connects us to the era it was struck in, a moment before the great shift in American coinage materials, and before modern technology reduced the frequency of minting errors. So, the next time you come across a 1977 penny without a mint mark, take a closer look. Hold it up to the light, examine the details, check for doubling, shifts, or imperfections. You might just find that what you hold in your hand is more than spare change. It could be a hidden treasure, and in rare cases, that treasure has been known to fetch an incredible price, with one example of the 1977 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny being valued at $34,589. The story of the Lincoln cent is more than just the tale of a small copper-plated coin. It is a piece of American history that has passed through the hands of millions of people, carried in pockets, saved in jars, and sometimes forgotten in old dresser drawers. Yet, hidden among the billions of coins produced, there are rare gems that collectors hunt for with relentless passion. One such coin is the 1989 D-Mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny, a coin that many people might glance at and think of as ordinary pocket change, but in reality, it holds a fascinating story and surprising value. To understand why a simple penny from 1989 can be worth more than what it says on its surface, we first need to take a journey back to the origins of the Lincoln cent itself. The Lincoln penny was first introduced in 1909, created to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It became the very first circulating coin in the United States to feature the portrait of an actual person, and who better than Lincoln, the president who preserved the Union during the Civil War. Sculpted by Victor David Brenner, the coin's design included Lincoln's bust on the front and two simple wheat ears on the back, representing prosperity and agriculture, which were the backbone of the nation. By 1959, the wheat reverse had been replaced with the Lincoln Memorial design, which itself carried deep symbolism. The memorial honored Lincoln's legacy, and if you looked closely with a magnifying glass, you could even spot a tiny statue of Lincoln seated inside the memorial. This design remained until 2008, meaning the 1989 D penny belongs to the memorial reverse era. Billions of these pennies were minted every year, and for most people, they were simply everyday currency. But for coin collectors, not every penny is created equal. The year 1989 was a year of transition and challenge in the U.S. Mint. These were years when the Mint was producing staggering quantities of coins, trying to keep up with the growing economy. The Denver Mint, indicated by the small d beneath the date on the penny, was responsible for producing hundreds of millions of cents that year. With such massive production, one might assume that no single coin could possibly stand out. Yet, as history shows us, small imperfections and rare conditions often lead to coins becoming extremely valuable. One of the things that makes certain 1989 D Lincoln cents special is the quality of their strike and their condition after minting. Most pennies are quickly used, scratched, and worn down in circulation, but the rarest finds are those that escaped heavy use and remain in nearly pristine condition. Coins that are kept safe, often in coin rolls, jars, or forgotten collections, sometimes resurface decades later looking almost exactly the way they did the day they left the mint. These are the coins that capture the eyes of collectors and auction houses. But beyond condition, minting errors also play a huge role in the desirability of a coin. The 1989 D penny has been known to exhibit interesting error types. For example, some collectors have discovered pennies with off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing or shifted noticeably. Others have found doubled dies, where letters or numbers appear to have a shadowy doubling effect due to misalignment during minting. Each type of error transforms what might be an ordinary penny into a highly collectible treasure. And because errors are by their very nature accidental and scarce, they create excitement in the numismatic world. Another factor influencing the value of the 1989 D penny is the change in materials. Until 1982, pennies were made mostly of copper, giving them a distinctive weight and reddish tone. After that year, the mint switched to zinc with a thin copper plating, primarily because the value of copper had risen so much that it no longer made economic sense to mint cents from solid copper. By 1989, the zinc composition was well in place, meaning that while these coins look coppery, underneath they are mostly zinc. However, this also means they are more prone to corrosion and damage. Finding one in excellent, unblemished condition is rarer than it seems. Collectors pay a premium for coins that have not developed the ugly surface spots that so often plague zinc cents. It's also worth noting that 1989 was not considered a key date in the Lincoln cent series, meaning it wasn't a year of low mintage or a dramatic design change. That's precisely why the standout examples, whether from errors, exceptional preservation, or grading rarity, are so fascinating. They rise above their common background and capture attention in a sea of billions. Imagine a coin that slipped through the cracks of history, minted in Denver in 1989, then carefully stored away for decades. Perhaps it sat undisturbed in a collection, shielded from the wear and tear of circulation. Decades later, it emerges in the numismatic marketplace, dazzling collectors with its sharp details, lustrous surfaces, and historical context. To the average person, it might look like just another penny, but to trained eyes, it is a masterpiece. Professional grading services, such as PCGS and NGC, play a major role in verifying and assigning value to coins like the 1989 D penny. These companies evaluate coins under strict standards, checking everything from stripe quality to luster to the tiniest imperfections. A high-grade 1989 D penny, especially in mint-state condition, can fetch a serious premium compared to its face value. The higher the grade, the higher the price. For collectors, owning such a coin is like holding a tiny piece of American heritage in near-perfect form. When discussing coins, it's also important to understand the psychology of collecting. For many, coins are not just about money, they are about history, beauty, and connection. A penny minted more than 30 years ago can tell us about the economy of its time, the artistry of its engravers, and the everyday lives of people who used it. Collectors often feel a deep bond with their coins, knowing that they carry stories that stretch back through time. Think about where a 1989 D penny might have traveled. It could have been used to buy a newspaper, slipped into a child's piggy bank, or dropped into a wishing fountain. It might have sat forgotten in a car's ashtray or been given as change at a corner store. Each coin has a silent journey, a life of circulation that mirrors the lives of the people who used it. And when one of these coins turns out to be rare or valuable, it transforms that everyday story into something extraordinary. For investors and serious collectors, coins like the 1989 D penny are not just sentimental items. They are assets. Rare pennies have consistently proven to hold and even grow in value over time. Auctions have shown again and again that when a truly remarkable specimen comes to market, buyers are willing to pay large sums to secure it. The thrill of competition, the rarity of the item, and the desire to own something unique all combine to push prices upward. The fascinating thing about the 1989 D Lincoln cent is that while most people see it as common, it holds the potential to surprise. Every coin roll, every jar of old pennies, every box tucked away in an attic could contain a hidden treasure. That's why so many collectors and treasure hunters continue searching. The excitement of discovery, the hope of uncovering a rare error or high-grade specimen, keeps the pursuit alive, and this is where the real lesson lies. It reminds us to never underestimate the value of small things. Something as ordinary as a penny, something often disregarded or left lying on sidewalks, can carry within it both historical weight and financial worth. The 1989 D penny stands as proof that the ordinary can sometimes turn into the extraordinary. The next time you find yourself holding a handful of change, pause for a moment. Look at the dates. Notice the mint marks. Inspect the tiny details that most people overlook. Who knows? You might be holding onto a piece of hidden history, a coin that collectors dream about. The story of the 1989 D mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny is one of patience, rarity, and appreciation for detail. It shows us how even the most common items of daily life can hold remarkable secrets. Collectors, historians, and everyday people continue to be surprised by these small copper-plated discs that carry the face of Abraham Lincoln and the proud history of the United States Mint. And finally, for those who wonder just how much one of these rare 1989 D pennies can be worth, the highest recorded value for a pristine and collectible specimen has reached an astonishing $22,983. The penny, a coin that many people overlook, toss aside, or leave in a jar without much thought. Yet within those tiny copper-plated discs lies an entire world of history, artistry, and hidden fortune. Today, we're diving deep into the story of one particular penny that has captured the attention of collectors and treasure hunters alike: the 1995 D mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. At first glance, it may look like the countless other pennies jingling around in wallets and pockets, but the truth is, this coin holds secrets that can transform what appears to be an ordinary cent into something extraordinary. To understand the importance of this penny, we must first step back and look at the journey of the Lincoln cent itself. The story begins in 1909, when the United States Mint introduced the first coin to honor the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the coin quickly became a national treasure. For the first time in American history, a real person, and not just a symbolic figure like Lady Liberty, was featured on circulating coinage. Lincoln's stern but noble profile, paired with Brenner's initials at the bottom, made the coin iconic from the very beginning. Over the decades, the Lincoln cent has gone through many transformations, changes in design, alterations in metal composition, and special issues to commemorate significant anniversaries. Yet through all those changes, it remained a constant reminder of America's past and its enduring respect for Lincoln's legacy. By the time we reached the 1990s, the Lincoln cent had already become the longest-running coin design in U.S. history. Now, let's narrow our focus to the year 1995. It was a time when the United States was thriving economically, technology was advancing rapidly, and the mint was producing billions upon billions of coins to fuel the nation's bustling economy. Among those coins were the Lincoln cents, struck in copper-plated zinc, just as they had been since the mid-1980s. But within this flood of coins came variations, minting errors, and small details that would make some pennies vastly more valuable than others. The Denver Mint, identified by the D mint mark stamped just below the date, was one of the major producers of the Lincoln cent in 1995. Millions of these coins poured out into circulation. To the untrained eye, they all looked the same. But as collectors know, the difference between an ordinary penny and a rare, valuable one often lies in the tiniest of details, things like doubling on the lettering, misaligned dies, or even the faintest imperfections that only become visible under magnification. The 1995 D penny is a fascinating study in this principle. While the Philadelphia Mint famously produced the 1995 double die penny that became one of the most talked about errors of the decade, the Denver Mint had its own role to play. The D mint mark coins were scrutinized for unusual features, striking quality, and small variations that could separate the ordinary from the extraordinary. But what makes the 1995 D penny so captivating isn't just its potential errors, it's the fact that certain examples have achieved incredible value at auctions, shocking collectors and casual coin enthusiasts alike. To think that a coin worth only 1 cent at face value could rise to thousands of dollars in value simply because of condition, rarity, or a special error is what fuels the passion of coin collecting. It's the thrill of the hunt, the possibility that at any moment, in any pocket change, a treasure could be hiding. Now, let's talk about the Denver Mint itself. Located in Colorado, this branch of the U.S. Mint is legendary for producing billions of coins each year. Its history dates back to the 19th century, and it has been a cornerstone of America's coinage system. By the 1990s, the Denver Mint had perfected mass production, ensuring that coins struck there were durable and reliable for circulation. However, no system is perfect, and the massive scale of production meant that small mistakes occasionally slipped through. These mistakes, though rare, are what gives certain coins like the 1995 D penny their allure. When analyzing a 1995 D penny, collectors look for several factors. First and foremost is the coin's condition. A penny that has been in circulation for decades will naturally show signs of wear, scratches, fading, and loss of detail. However, pennies that were set aside early, preserved in rolls, or struck with exceptional quality may still retain their luster, sharp details, and even that coveted, red coppery shine. Coins graded at the highest levels by professional services can command extraordinary prices, far beyond what one would expect from such a humble denomination. Another factor that drives value is rarity. While billions of 1995 pennies were minted, the number of coins that survived in pristine condition is far smaller. Collectors understand that finding a coin with no blemishes, sharp edges, and perfect surfaces is a rarity in itself. Combine this with the possibility of unique mint errors, such as doubled lettering, off-center strikes, or die cracks, and you have a recipe for a highly desirable collectible. It's also worth noting that coin collecting is not just about the physical coin, it's about the story behind it. Each coin carries the weight of history. The 1995 D penny is a representation of a time in America when technology was shifting rapidly, the economy was booming, and the mint was at the height of its production power. Owning such a coin isn't just about having a piece of metal, it's about holding a piece of history in your hands. Many people wonder how they can tell if their 1995 D penny is special. The first step is always careful observation. Look closely at the lettering, especially "In God We Trust" and "Liberty." Any doubling, distortion, or unusual spacing can be a sign of added value. Examine the mint mark itself. Sometimes the D appears faint, misaligned, or doubled, which can intrigue collectors. And, of course, the overall condition is key. A penny that still shines like the day it was minted will always be more valuable than one that has been worn down by decades of circulation. What makes the world of coin collecting so thrilling is that discoveries can happen anywhere. Imagine going through a jar of old pennies in your home and suddenly noticing something different about one of them. That moment of realization, the possibility that you've stumbled upon a rare coin worth far more than a cent, is what keeps collectors searching, day after day. The 1995 D penny has been at the center of many such discoveries, with lucky finders turning a simple coin into a small fortune. But let's not overlook the emotional connection that coins bring. For some, a penny from 1995 may be the year they graduated, the year a child was born, or a time of personal significance. Coins are time capsules, carrying with them the essence of the era in which they were minted. The 1995 D penny represents more than just copper-plated zinc. It represents memories, history, and the thrill of possibility. As we reach the end of this exploration, you may be wondering, what is the true value of a 1995 D mint mark Lincoln penny? While many examples are only worth face value, those rare specimens that meet the highest standards of preservation and desirability have shocked the numismatic world. One such coin has been documented to sell for an astounding $30,987. So, the next time you find yourself dismissing the pennies in your pocket as worthless, think again. Hidden among them might be a treasure, a small coin with a big story, waiting to be discovered. The 1995 D Lincoln penny proves that even the most ordinary objects can hold extraordinary secrets. The story of the Lincoln 1-cent penny is one of the most fascinating journeys in American coinage, and every collector knows that even the smallest coin can sometimes hold the greatest mysteries and treasures. Today, we dive into one particular year and mint mark that has stirred the attention of both casual collectors and professional numismatists. The 2004 Lincoln penny minted in Denver, also known as the 2004 D mint mark Lincoln cent. At first glance, it may look like an ordinary copper-colored coin, the kind you find tossed into change jars, slipped into vending machines, or resting at the bottom of a pocket. But as history has shown us time and time again, appearances can be deceiving. Many pennies that were once thought to be ordinary turned out to be incredibly valuable due to striking errors, low mintages, or peculiarities that made them rare in the numismatic world. The 2004D penny is one such coin that deserves a closer look. To truly appreciate this small but remarkable piece of currency, we need to rewind history. The Lincoln cent was first introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th birthday of Abraham Lincoln, America's 16th president. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the coin became the first U.S. coin to feature a real person's portrait. Over the decades, the penny went through many small changes, alterations in design, modifications in composition, and the addition of the mint mark to indicate where it was produced. By the time we reached the early 2000s, the Lincoln cent had already become one of the most produced coins in the world. Billions were struck at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. The Denver mint, identified by the small letter D on the coin, was responsible for producing the 2004D Lincoln pennies in massive quantities. Because of this, one might assume that these coins hold little to no value beyond their face value. But as collectors know, value isn't always about how many were made, it's about the details hidden in the strike, the errors, the condition, and sometimes even the story attached to the coin itself. The 2004D Lincoln penny is especially interesting because of the subtle details in its production. The Denver Mint was known for high-speed production runs, which meant that errors occasionally slipped through the cracks. Some of these errors included doubled dies, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and even die cracks. To a casual spender, these imperfections might seem like flaws, but to a collector, they can transform an ordinary 1-cent piece into a prized possession. Imagine holding a coin in your hand that looks almost normal, but upon closer inspection, you notice the lettering slightly doubled, or Lincoln's profile appearing thicker than usual, or the date showing faint signs of duplication. These little quirks can turn the coin into a rarity worth searching for. Collectors across America continue to study the 2004D penny closely, hunting for those hidden errors that can significantly raise its value. Condition is another crucial factor in determining worth. A heavily circulated 2004D penny that has passed through countless hands may only fetch face value, but a coin preserved in near-perfect condition, known as mint state, can bring much more. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 representing perfection. For the 2004D Lincoln penny, those graded in higher mint state levels, especially MS65 and above, are sought after by collectors who specialize in modern coins. What makes the 2004D penny even more appealing is its place in history. The early 2000s were a transitional time in American coinage. Just a few years earlier, the U.S. Mint had launched the State Quarters program, which captured public imagination and introduced millions of Americans to coin collecting. By 2004, collectors were looking not only at quarters but also at pennies, nickels, and dimes with fresh eyes. The Denver Mint's Lincoln cents from that year thus became part of a broader wave of renewed interest in coinage. The design of the coin itself is worth appreciating. On the obverse side, you'll see Abraham Lincoln's familiar bust, a symbol of American perseverance, leadership, and integrity. The word, liberty, appears to his left, while the date, 2004, rests to his right, accompanied by the D mint mark signifying Denver. Above his head arches the phrase, "In God we trust," a motto deeply rooted in American identity. The reverse side of the coin features the iconic Lincoln Memorial, introduced in 1959 to mark the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. If you look closely, you can even spot a tiny statue of Lincoln seated within the memorial, an incredible detail considering the coin's small size. While millions of these coins were struck, the rarity and value of the 2004D penny come not from how many exist but from how well they've been preserved and whether any carry unique minting anomalies. Stories continue to surface of individuals discovering that a penny tucked away in a coin jar or handed back as change was worth far more than a single cent. It's this possibility that makes coin collecting so thrilling. Every time you glance at a penny, you could be holding a piece of history that others have overlooked. The 2004D Lincoln penny serves as a reminder that treasures are often hidden in plain sight, waiting for someone with curiosity and knowledge to recognize their worth. Collectors often advise that if you come across a shiny, seemingly uncirculated penny from 2004 with a Denver Mint mark, it's worth examining more carefully. Under a magnifying glass, you might notice the kinds of features that elevate its value far beyond its humble denomination. And even if your coin is a standard strike with no errors, keeping it in pristine condition could make it more desirable to future collectors as time passes and high-grade examples become scarcer. Another fascinating aspect of the 2004 D penny is how it connects to the larger story of America's economy. Pennies themselves have been the subject of debate for decades. Many argue that producing them costs more than they're worth, while others insist that the penny holds too much cultural and historical significance to be discontinued. Within that debate, special pennies like the 2004 D Lincoln cent gain even more attention, proving that even the most ordinary-seeming coin can defy expectations. Numismatics, the study and collection of coins, is often described as a journey through time, and the 2004 D penny is no exception. Each of these coins carries the weight of the year it was minted, the events of 2004, the hands it passed through, the pockets it rested in, and the memories tied to its circulation. Coins are more than just money, they are miniature storytellers, capturing the spirit of their age. And so, we return to the burning question, what is the 2004 D Mint Mark Lincoln penny truly worth? While many examples are worth only face value, certain coins in exceptional condition or with unique features have stunned collectors with their surprising value. Rare finds in mint state, combined with the right error or anomaly, have brought in remarkable amounts at auctions and private sales. After years of study and careful observation by numismatists, one particular 2004 D Lincoln penny has been recorded reaching a staggering value of $23,477. Welcome back everyone to another fascinating journey into the world of American coinage, where small copper-colored treasures hide secrets of history, artistry, and unexpected value. Today, we turn our attention to a modern yet surprisingly collectible piece that you might still stumble upon in your change, tucked inside an old jar, or hidden in a drawer where it's been forgotten for years. We are talking about the United States of America 2008 Denver Mint Lincoln 1 cent penny. Now at first glance, this coin might seem utterly ordinary. After all, it was minted in massive numbers and circulated widely across the nation. But as you'll soon discover, not every penny is created equal. Some carry details that collectors crave, some bear the faintest trace of errors that can skyrocket their worth, and some simply represent a moment in history that makes them more valuable than their face value would ever suggest. So sit back as we dive deep into the story of this modern Lincoln cent, its origins, its design, its peculiarities, and why collectors are willing to pay a surprising amount of money for certain examples. Let's start with the basics. The year 2008 was an important one in the timeline of Lincoln pennies. Just 1 year later, in 2009, the U.S. Mint would introduce 4 new commemorative reverse designs to celebrate the bicentennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth and the centennial of the Lincoln cent itself. That meant 2008 was the last full year the traditional memorial reverse design appeared on pennies before history shifted gears. For collectors, that alone makes 2008 an intriguing year. It represents the closing chapter of one of the most iconic American coin designs. On the obverse, or front, of the coin, we have the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln. Designed by Victor David Brenner, this portrait first appeared on the penny in 1909, making it the longest-running coin design in U.S. history. By 2008, the design had already graced America's smallest denomination for nearly a century. Lincoln faces to the right, with the word Liberty to his left, the year of mintage, 2008, just below, and the mint mark D under the date indicating it was struck at the Denver Mint in Colorado. Above his head, the motto "I in God We Trust" stretches along the rim. Turn the coin over and you'll find the reverse, which still bore the Lincoln Memorial design in 2008. This design, created by Frank Gasparo, had been in use since 1959. The Lincoln Memorial is depicted in detail, so finely that with a magnifying glass you can actually spot a tiny representation of the statue of Lincoln seated inside the memorial. The inscriptions include United States of America at the top, E Pluribus Unum just above the memorial, and 1 cent at the bottom. For nearly 5 decades, this reverse stood as a national symbol on billions of pennies before being retired the very next year. Now, what about the composition? By 2008, Lincoln cents were no longer primarily made of copper. From 1982 onward, the U.S. Mint changed the composition due to rising copper prices. The coins minted from that point forward, including our 2008 Denver penny, were made of 97.5% zinc with a thin outer coating of copper. This gave them the same familiar reddish appearance but with a much cheaper core. Collectors, of course, always keep a sharp eye on earlier copper-based pennies, but even these zinc-based cents have their own hidden gems. So you might ask, if billions of 2008 pennies were made, what could possibly make them valuable? This is where the world of coin collecting gets fascinating. Value is driven not just by rarity of date, but also by condition, errors, and demand. Let's break these down. First, condition. In the coin collecting world, condition is everything. A 2008 penny that has circulated in everyday commerce, passed from hand to hand, rubbed down, scratched, and worn, will almost always be worth only its face value of 1 cent. However, if that same coin was pulled straight from the mint rolls, handled carefully, and preserved in pristine condition, it could command far more. Collectors seek coins that are graded mint state, which means they show no signs of wear and often retain their original luster. The higher the grade, the more valuable the coin becomes. In fact, a flawless example graded MS68 or higher can fetch astonishing premiums at auction. Second, minting errors. This is where things really get exciting. Errors can happen at any point during the minting process, and collectors absolutely love them because they transform ordinary coins into unique pieces. For 2008 pennies, some known errors include off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing, doubled dies, where elements of the lettering or design appear doubled, and die cracks, where raised lines appear on the coin due to cracks in the die. Even small errors can dramatically increase a coin's worth, because they make that specific piece stand out from the billions of regular examples. Third, historical timing. Remember, 2008 was the final year before the design change. Collectors often look at such transitional years as particularly significant. A 2008 penny in gem condition captures the very end of the memorial design era, making it a symbolic bookend to a chapter in American numismatic history. Now let's talk about the Denver Mint itself. The Denver Mint has been producing coins since 1906, and its coins bear the D Mint mark. In 2008, the Denver Mint struck hundreds of millions of pennies. While the sheer number might suggest commonness, it also means a vast sea of coins to search through, where hidden gems and rare high-grade examples can be found. Imagine finding one flawless coin out of hundreds of millions. That's the thrill of the hunt for collectors. The appeal of the 2008 penny also extends to those who collect Lincoln cents by year and mint mark. Completing a full set of Lincoln pennies is one of the most popular goals in U.S. coin collecting. Every year and every mint mark has its place, from the rare 1909 SVDB to the modern issues like the 2008 D. And when building a set, collectors want the highest quality examples possible. That demand drives up the price for coins that might otherwise seem ordinary. Another factor is the human connection. Coins are tangible links to history. Think back to 2008, a year remembered for the global financial crisis, a U.S. presidential election that made history, and an era just before major changes in coinage design. Holding a 2008 penny is like holding a fragment of that year in your hand, a reminder of what life was like when that coin first left the mint. For many collectors, this connection adds emotional value on top of monetary value. But let's get to the part everyone wants to know: how much can this coin actually be worth? We've covered condition, errors, and historical context, but numbers speak louder than words. While most circulated 2008 pennies remain worth just a cent, those rare examples preserved in superb condition can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. And in certain cases, when collectors have come across an extraordinary specimen, the value can rise to staggering amounts. So, what's the peak value recorded for a 2008 Lincoln 1 cent penny? Well, in the world of auctions and private sales, One exceptional example reached an incredible final price of $19,266. In the world of coin collecting, treasures often hide in plain sight. A simple copper-colored penny that many people overlook on the sidewalk, in their change jar, or buried deep in a drawer can sometimes hold a story far greater than its tiny value suggests. Today, we are diving into one such coin, the 2015 D Mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. Though minted not too long ago, this coin has quickly captured the fascination of collectors, historians, and everyday treasure hunters alike. You may think that a penny from 2015 is far too recent to hold any true value, but as you'll soon discover, certain details, minting errors, and historical context can transform a modern coin into a rare collectible worth far beyond its face value. Before we get into rarity and value, let's first understand the background of this coin. The 2015 penny continues the long-running Lincoln cent series that began in 1909, honoring the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It remains the longest-running design in United States coinage history. Over time, the Lincoln penny has undergone changes to its reverse design, its composition, and even its minting process. By 2015, the penny was being produced in zinc with a thin copper coating, a far cry from the 95% copper cents of earlier decades. Yet, despite its modest appearance and modern production, the 2015 D penny is part of a remarkable tradition that reflects not just currency, but also American history and culture. Now, what makes the D Mint mark so important? The D represents the Denver Mint, one of the major United States mint facilities responsible for producing billions of coins each year. Denver has played a crucial role in supplying circulating coinage to the western half of the country. In 2015, millions of pennies were struck there, which on the surface might suggest that these coins are far too common to be of interest to collectors. However, coin collecting is never that simple. Among the sea of mass-produced pennies, there are always a few that slip through with errors, unusual conditions, or qualities that set them apart. Collectors prize coins not just for age, but also for rarity, condition, and unique characteristics. Imagine sorting through a pile of pocket change. Most coins are ordinary, but once in a while, you come across one that looks slightly different. Maybe the mint mark is doubled, maybe Lincoln's portrait is misaligned, or maybe the coin has never been touched since leaving the mint, retaining its original shine. Those details make all the difference. The 2015 D penny has become a highlight in modern coin discussions because of these very factors. One of the key elements to look for in a 2015 D penny is its condition. Professional coin grading services, such as PCGS and NGC, evaluate coins using a scale from 1 to 70. A grade of 70, referred to as perfect, indicates a flawless coin with no marks, scratches, or where visible even under magnification. Most pennies in circulation naturally pick up scratches and dings, but occasionally, a few pristine examples survive. When a 2015 D penny is found in such immaculate condition, it attracts collectors who are willing to pay significant amounts of money to add it to their collections. But condition alone is not the only factor. Errors are another driving force behind a coin's increased value. Minting is a complex process involving dies, presses, and precise mechanics. With billions of coins produced each year, mistakes inevitably occur. A double die error, for example, results in parts of the design being duplicated. A misaligned strike can cause Lincoln's portrait or the lettering to appear off-center. In some cases, the coin may be struck on the wrong planchet, a blank intended for another denomination. Such error coins are like winning lottery tickets for collectors, turning what might seem like an ordinary penny into a prized rarity. Reports of 2015 D pennies with minor variations and errors have circulated within the coin collecting community. Some showcase unusual doubling on the date or lettering. Others have been noted for off-center strikes, where the design is visibly shifted, leaving an uneven blank rim. Even small imperfections can dramatically raise the value, simply because they are scarce and highly sought after. Another factor is the historical moment tied to the coin. While the year 2015 may not seem distant, every coin serves as a time capsule. Think about what was happening in the United States during that year: the culture, the politics, the economic climate. Collectors often attach value not only to the physical rarity of a coin but also to the era it represents. Future generations may look back on 2015 pennies as artifacts of a specific period in American history, much as we look back at coins from the 1800s today. Let's also not overlook the sentimental value that plays into collecting. For some, finding a 2015 penny might represent a personal milestone. Maybe it's the year they graduated, got married, or welcomed a child into the world. Coins have a unique way of tying together personal memory with national history, and that emotional layer can add to their appeal. Now imagine this: you stumble upon a 2015 penny in your change. At first, you're tempted to toss it aside. After all, it's just a penny, right? But upon closer inspection, you notice it gleams a little brighter than the others. You turn it in the light, and the details of Lincoln's profile appear razor sharp, the date crisp and clear, the mint mark neatly stamped. Something about it feels different. You check online, compare it to examples others have shared, and realize you might be holding a valuable rarity. That thrill, that rush of possibility, is exactly what keeps the coin collecting world alive and buzzing with excitement. Collectors also stress the importance of preservation. A 2015 penny that has been kept safe in a protective holder since it was minted has far greater value than one that has been rolling around in circulation. Oils from human skin, environmental exposure, and physical contact all degrade the coin over time. To maximize a coin's potential worth, keeping it untouched, clean, and properly stored is critical. The beauty of coin collecting lies in the fact that it bridges everyday people with extraordinary discoveries. Unlike art pieces locked away in museums or rare gems hidden in vaults, coins are all around us. They pass through our hands daily. Each one has the potential to carry a story, and every now and then, one of them carries not just a story but also a surprising amount of value. The 2015 Lincoln penny may seem like an unlikely star in the world of rare coins, but it serves as a reminder that rarity and worth are not solely tied to age. Modern coins, too, can achieve significant value when the right combination of factors align. Condition, errors, and collector demand all play their role. For anyone curious about getting into coin collecting, the 2015 penny is a perfect starting point. It demonstrates how even the smallest details matter, how patience and attention can transform pocket change into hidden treasure. Whether you find one worth a few cents or one that commands a hefty premium, the joy is in the hunt, the discovery, and the knowledge that you are holding a small piece of history in your hand. And so, we arrive at the question everyone has been waiting for: how much can the rarest and most pristine 2015 Lincoln penny actually be worth? While many examples in ordinary condition are worth only their face value, those rare specimens in top condition or with unique errors have astonished collectors and achieved prices far beyond expectations. One such remarkable penny from the 2015 Denver Mint has sold for an incredible $9,266.